Today we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. In total, that means that the department produced approximately 3.5 million pages in compliance with the Act.
We were girls and young women who were victimized by Epstein and Maxwell in a ring.
I know there are videos and photos. I know that Jeffrey had recording cameras in his house.
Powerful people who caused us harm are being protected and we're being exposed. It is meant to silence us.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
For years, it was easy to dismiss the rumors around Justin Bieber's early days in the industry until now, because with new details coming out of the DOJ files, Ellen DeGeneres' name is suddenly being pulled into the same conversation, and people are starting to ask what really happened in those private spaces Bieber was never supposed to talk about. We all saw happen in real time. January 30th, 2026, the Department of Justice cracked the vault open and dumped a nuclear load on the internet, over 3 million pages of Epstein-related documents, hundreds of thousands of images, and thousands of videos. Then Ellen DeGeneres' name is among.
Today we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. In total, that means that the department produced approximately 3.5 million pages in compliance with the Act.
Now, at first, it didn't seem shocking. Her name appeared among hundreds of high-profile individuals connected in different ways to the broader investigation. But once people started looking closer, not only on the list alone, but also on patterns, things began to shift. Because Ellen wasn't just a random name in Hollywood, she had connections. And one of those connections led directly to Sean Diddy Combs.
Is that going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late. Because, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I promise you I'm not going to let you down on this big one.
All right,
For
good.
real.
Good.
Your shoes, your feet are going to have blisters. You're going to be dancing so hard.
I can't wait.
Now that's where things start to tighten, because Diddy has been tied, at least publicly, to a certain kind of environment. Private gatherings, controlled spaces, guest lists that never go public, the kind of places where phones are taken, nothing leaks, and what happens inside stays inside. And here's the uncomfortable part. Justin Bieber was in that world at a very young age. 13 years old, fresh out of Canada, stepping into fame with no real understanding of what that industry looked like behind the scenes. At first, it looked like mentorship. Usher guiding him, introducing him to the right people, opening doors. But one of those doors led to Diddy, and once that connection was made, everything else starts to look different. Old footage resurfaced, clips of Diddy talking about having private time with Bieber, talking about experiences that couldn't be shared publicly. At the time, people laughed it off. It sounded like industry talk. Now, people are replaying those same clips and asking a different question. What exactly was happening during those moments that couldn't be talked about?
Check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Crazy.
Because when you line that up with how Bieber has acted over the years, the emotional interviews, the breakdowns, the way he talks about protecting younger artists like Billie Eilish, it stops sounding like normal industry pressure and starts sounding personal. And that's where Ellen comes back into the picture, because she was connected to it.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm I'm just a call away.
Diddy appeared on her show multiple times, not as a distant guest, but as someone comfortable, someone familiar. She joked with him, praised him, even publicly supported him in ways that didn't raise eyebrows back then. But now those same moments are being rewatched differently, because if Diddy had access to those kinds of environments and Ellen was closely connected to him, then people started asking something they weren't asking before.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up to
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that? Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though. It'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
And then it will carry on there?
Yeah. Then the after party.
No, I know about them.
How close was she to those same spaces? And more importantly, who was she around when those things were happening? Now bring it back to Bieber, because this isn't just about connections anymore. There are claims, conversations, and patterns suggesting that Bieber wasn't just around industry figures. He was around environments that weren't meant for someone his age, private gatherings and isolated locations where normal rules didn't apply. And when people started connecting Epstein's world to similar environments, the question became harder to ignore. And then you bring in Ali Carter, someone who's been speaking on what allegedly went down in those same circles long before any headlines or lawsuits, and the picture gets even darker to the point where not everything can even be broken down here.
I was a party favor.
What does that mean?
I was a party favor. I was somebody you could take off the table.
So you're telling me they set
I set on a table.
Like when you go to a birthday party and they have gift bags for everybody that comes that have candy and toys in them, and they set them on the table. So you're telling me at the freak off parties, they put on the table instead of gift bags, and then people can do what?
Take you off the table.
If these circles overlapped even slightly, then who crossed paths? Because Epstein's operation wasn't just about one location. It was about access to people, power, and spaces where things could happen without consequence. So when Ellen's name appears in connection with those files and her ties to figures like Diddy are already established, people start drawing lines. And once those lines start connecting, Bieber's story starts to look different, because now you're not just looking at a young artist navigating fame, but a kid placed in environments he didn't choose. He was surrounded by powerful adults, and then there's the detail that keeps resurfacing, the behavior, Bieber cutting people off, distancing himself from those who helped build his career, speaking about betrayal in ways that feel deeper than business. Even that moment where he talked about wanting to protect Billie Eilish, that wasn't random. That sounded like someone who had seen something that he didn't want someone else to experience.
I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
And once you connect that to the kind of environments being described around Diddy, Epstein, and those private spaces, the picture gets darker, because then the question isn't just what happened, it's who allowed it to happen. Because Usher introduced him, Diddy spent time with him, and Ellen was connected to that same circle. So who made sure nobody talked about it? Then there's another layer people can't ignore: timing. Because right as more pressure started building around the Epstein files and more attention started shifting back to those names, Ellen quietly stepped away with no major explanation. And when you line that up with everything else, the connections, resurfaced clips, and patterns, it raises a different kind of question. Was that just a coincidence? Maybe, because if more information was about to surface, being far from the center of it suddenly matters.
They're losing their minds.
She sounded so sincere, didn't she?
Very sincere.
Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia.
Oh!
Could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But, she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she?
Well, this is why I say release the Diddy files.
Yeah.
Release the Diddy files. Come on, Donald Trump. We want to know whose name.
So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well. But what a bunch of hypocrites.
And that's what makes this whole thing harder to dismiss. Because none of these pieces alone proves anything, but together they tell a story that feels too consistent to ignore. A young artist placed in powerful circles too early, a network of people with access to private environments, a list of names that keeps resurfacing, and a silence that lasted for years, until now. So now, the question isn't just what the DOJ files revealed, it's what they hinted at, what they connected, and what they might still be holding back. Because if Justin Bieber was really in those spaces at that age, surrounded by those people, what exactly did he see, and how many others were there that nobody is talking about? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our next video on the end screen.